हेलो फ्रेंड्स, हाउ आर यू? आई होप यू आर फाइन। अभी तक जो भी सीक्वेंसिंग मैंने इनर इंजीनियरिंग बुक की है वो गलत है। सो ये पार्ट 8 है एक्चुअली। सो समहाउ मैंने एक स्किप कर दी, मतलब एक एक्स्ट्रा नंबर बता रही थी बट वो था नहीं। सो 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, आई थिंक दिस इज़ 8th पार्ट। ओके, बट जो भी उसका सब्जेक्ट टाइटल होगा उसमें सही नंबरिंग होगी। नो बाउंड्रीज, नो बर्डन। Once it happened, an argument arose one evening between a husband and wife. The argument was over the burning question, who should close the front door today? This is a very important question. Okay, sure, बहुत मचा रही है यार ये. Not a simple question and not a laughing matter. These are very serious issues in domestic situations. Yes, in fact, they are. Who should close the door today? Who should switch off the garden lights this evening? Who should take the dog for a walk? This is very important. All these questions. These are questions that can drive couples to divorce. आर्ग्यूमेंट मैं अपने बच्चों के साथ ये डिस्कशंस होते हैं, इसलिए खैर बच्चों के साथ तो आप डाइवोर्स नहीं कर सकते. So the argument grew more and more heated. The wife decided every day it is I who in the end accepts defeat. Today I am not going to give in. The husband also grew equally determined. She pushes me around all the time. I am not going to give in to this woman today, no matter what. It was one of those grand rows. Now every home has its own system of resolving these arguments. In this family, when confronted by an impasse, both husband and wife would sit silently. The person who uttered the first word would have to go and close the door. The two ये कैसा ये कैसा ये तो बच्चों वाला है. The two sat in stony silence. Minutes ticked into hours. Dinner was on the table. If the husband said he wanted to eat, he would have to close the door. If the wife proposed dinner, she would have to close the door. Midnight, they were still sitting. A few rogues passing by on the street. They saw the door of the house open, lights on, no party, nothing, everything was quiet. They wanted to see what was going on. So they looked into the sitting room. They saw two people sitting there, steadfastly silent. Barbie! Oh! The rocks looked at the silent couple. हमेशा जब भी मैं बुक पढ़ना स्टार्ट करती हूँ तब तेज़ तेज़ खराटे मारने स्टार्ट कर देती. कुछ भी कर रही होंगी मैं अपना काम वीडियो बनाने का. The rogues looked at the silent couple. They were a little surprised. They decided to take a chance. They helped themselves to a few valuables in the sitting room. The two people said nothing. The rogues grew amused, emboldened. They sat at the dining table and served themselves dinner. The couple sat heroically silent. The rogues were usually tickled. What the hell is happening there? They grew bolder still. One of them kissed the wife. Still, the couple did not utter a word. The one who spoke would have to close the door. Oh my god, the stakes. The stakes were too high, neither could risk it. Now the rogues got a bit spooked. They decided it was time to leave this strange household. But before they left, they wanted to leave their mark. So they decided to shave the husband's mustache. One of them approached him, razor in one hand. Then the husband finally spoke. He said, "Okay, damn it, I will close the door." Perhaps the scenarios are different, but are there not situations in your life that hinge on a similar question? Who is responsible? Who is responsible? It's a big question. Let's put the question more precisely. Who is responsible for the way you are right now? Your genes, your father, your mother, your wife, your husband, your teacher, your boss, your mother-in-law, God, government, all of the above. The condition is a pervasive one. Ask someone, why are you in this situation? Pat comes a reply. You know, when I was a child, my parents, the same old story with just a few variations. There is an ancient science of how to create misery and one in which human beings need no encouragement whatsoever. There is almost no one who is not an expert. Passing the buck is what you do in 100 different ways each day. You have collectively refined the old game into a fine art. The quality of your life is determined by our ability to respond to the varied complex situations that we encounter. If the ability to respond with intelligence, competence, and sensitivity is compromised by a compulsive or reactive approach, we are enslaved by the situation. It means we have allowed the nature of our life experience to be determined by our circumstances, not by us. Being fully responsible is to be fully conscious. What you consider to be your body is what you have gathered through ingestion. What you consider to be your mind is what you have gathered through the five senses. What is beyond that, which you did not gather, is who you are. Being alive is being conscious. Everybody is conscious to some degree, but when you touch the dimension beyond body and beyond mind, you have touched that which is the very source of consciousness. You realize that the entire universe is conscious. You inhabit a living cosmos. बोर हो रहे हैं बहुत लंबा है यार कैसे पढ़ेंगे सारा चलो पढ़ ही लेते हैं मुझे नहीं लगता कुछ सुन रहा होगा इसमें The physical and psychological dimensions belong to the realm of polarities, pain, pleasure, love, hate, masculine, feminine, and so on. If you have one, the other is bound to follow. But when you move into the fundamental dimension of who you are beyond all polarities. You now become blissful by your own nature. You are the master of your own destiny. It is a time to reclaim for ourselves the extraordinary transformative power of the single word, responsibility. Apply it to your daily life and watch the magic unfold. Let us settle what we mean by the word at the start. Responsibility is a much misunderstood term. It has been used so widely and indiscriminately that it has lost much of its inner voltage. Responsibility does not mean taking Barbie chup raho. Responsibility does not mean Barbie. Responsibility does not mean taking on the burdens of the world. It does not mean accepting blaming for things you have done or not done. It does not mean living in a state of perpetual guilt. Responsibility simply means your ability to respond. If you decide I am responsible, you will have the ability to respond. If you decide I am not responsible, you will not have the ability to respond. It is as simple as that. All it requires is for you to realize that you are responsible for all that you are and all that you are not. All that may happen to you and all that may not happen to you. This is not a mind game. This is not a self-help strategy for easy living. This is not a philosophical theory, this is a reality. Your physical existence is responsible only because of your body's seamless ability to respond to the entire universe. If your body wasn't responding, you wouldn't be able to exist for a moment. Do you see that? What the trees around you are exhaling. What the trees around you are exhaling, you are inhaling right now. What you are exhaling, the trees are inhaling at this very moment. This transaction is ongoing, whether you are aware of it or not. One half of your pulmonary system is hanging up there right now on a tree. You have never experienced this interdependence. You have probably at the most thought about it intellectually. But if you have experienced this connection, would anyone have to tell you, plant trees, protect the forest, save the world? Would it even be necessary? Taking responsibility is not a convenient philosophy to reconcile you to the way things are. It is simply waking up to reality. The ability to respond to the entire universe is already a physical reality. It is only your thoughts and emotions that need to become conscious of the fact. Suppose something goes wrong in the office. Perhaps you think it was due to a particular colleague's inaptitude. You could haul her up, lose your temper, fire her. Your blood pressure is likely to rise. The office temperature office atmosphere will be vitiated. The after effects of your rage will probably be felt by you and your fellow workers for days and weeks after the incidents. You will probably have to work particularly hard at restoring the peace and re-establishing a situation of mutual trust. There is another choice. You could simply see the situation the way it is and take responsibility for it. Taking responsibility is not accepting blame instead of assigning it. It simply means consciously responding to the situation. Once you take responsibility, you will invariably start exploring ways to address the situation. You will look for solutions. If you are frequently in this mode, your ability to craft your life situations will keep enhancing yourself. With this enhanced competence to deal with life and its multiple complexities, you begin to rise to positions of possibility and power. If you assume absolute responsibility within yourself for all that is around you, you will become the center of any situation at home, work, or even the universe. Since you become indispensable to these situations, there is no sense of insecurity or incompleteness within you anymore. Only if you realize you are responsible do you have the freedom to create yourself the way you want to be, not as a reaction to the situations in which you exist. Reactivity is enslavement. Responsibility is freedom. When you are able to create yourself the way you want, you can create your life the way you want as well. Your outer life may not be 100% in your control, but your inner life always will. On the other hand, the first reaction, anger, usually provokes unintelligent action. Anger is fundamentally self-defeating. If you look at your life closely, you will find that you have done the most idiotic and life-negative things when you were angry. Above all, you are working against yourself. If you work against yourself, if you sabotage your own well being, you are obviously choosing unintelligence as a way of life. I am not propounding a moral argument here. I am not telling you that you should not lose your temper because it is ethically wrong. If anger is a pleasant experience, blow your top. What is the problem? The point is that it is singularly unpleasant for you and for those at the receiving end. It is also counterproductive and therefore inefficient. I am not offering a rage control or anger management strategy either. When I first came to the United States, I heard everybody talking about stress management. It puzzled me. Why would anybody want to manage stress? I always thought we manage the things that are precious to us, our money, business, family. It took me time to see that people have assumed that stress is an inevitable part of their lives. They do not see that it is entirely self created and self inflicted. Once you take charge of your life, there is no such thing as stress. The point is that the anger is rooted in your false perception that you can change the situation by losing your temper with it. But your life experience tells you time ये मेरे लिए बहुत important है because I lose my temper at my kids and मुझे लगता है कि वो work करता है but it only drains my energy and obviously it also creates a very very bad impact on them. Even if they don't take the impact, still it is very bad vibes to the house. So I think this is for me. The point is that anger is rooted in your false perception that you can change the situation by losing your temper with it. Yes, we believe so, I believe so. But your life experience tells you time and again that the reverse is true, that you can never change any situation for the better by forsaking your sense and intelligence. You only mess up your situations by getting angry, but still we do it. I do it all the time. Once you see that clearly, you have taken the first step towards change. Besides, there is substantial medical and scientific evidence to prove that in a state of anger, you are literally poisoning your system. This can be verified with something as simple as a blood test. When you are angry, your very chemistry is altered and your system turns toxic. Intense activity and sleep are times when this chemical mess can undo itself. But if you are in a frequent stages of rage, you are heading towards physical and psychological disaster. There is no doubt about this. There is a commonly held belief that rage produces results, that nothing happens in the world without the adrenaline rush of anger. The iconic figure of the Cuban Revolution, Che Guevara famously said, "If you tremble with indignation at every injustice, you are a comrade of mine." Perhaps that is true, but in rage, you become one with the group. Out of rage, you become one with the universe. Okay, it's a very long chapter. I think so. I will end it here. Bye bye. Thank you. Take care.